Lots of businesses are engaged in hybrid work and they're using AI to develop smarter ways to engage and support their people. But let's be transparent. The current hybrid working situation has lots of pain points, burnout, disengagement, unclear
Mm.
policies. Or if you notice, the last time I was in work, someone was doing a Teams call with me, and they were literally 2 desks away because they'd got into that mindset as to it's remote work. I've come into the office, but I'm not changing my behaviors. So is AI, Claire, an option to help employees better listen, better learn, better develop? Can we use tools like AI sentiment analysis? What is it that we can do to help the challenges that HR and learning and development professionals face with hybrid work themselves and with their teams?
I think this comes back to any introduction of new technology and any displacement of the way that work is done. So, we have been trying to get a handle on hybrid working for quite some time. We're past now, what, 4 years, where it's really become the norm for most people to be working a mix of at home or in the office. And I don't think they should try to introduce AI to maybe solve any of those problems. Some of those are people problems. Some of those about how staff are managed, and some of those are about realistic expectations as well. I do think AI and the technology will help to enable hybrid working, but I think it's critical that, in particular, HR do keep an eye on that and do understand how does it affect my people and what are they feeling and what are they thinking. Sentiment analysis is critical, but if businesses aren't doing that as a norm, AI is not going to solve that either. But they could introduce AI to have shorter, snappier, and smarter sentiment analysis that are maybe more frequent. The other thing we need to consider is the Good Jobs Bill in Northern Ireland. There is conditions within that that will look at the right to disconnect. So are we, with the introduction of AI and other technologies, maybe diluting that right to disconnect a little bit more because it is so easy and effortless to work from anywhere in the world or at home or wherever you might be? You and I are in the same country, but obviously very different locations. I think it should be approached as an enabler to create efficiencies where it can, but it should not be used. I think what I'm saying is, as a process that really needs to wrap around everything, that this is going to be a solution for hybrid working. There are a lot of other strategies and policies that need to be considered because it's a complex environment and a really complex process, I think, to manage. What would you think on the L&D side? Would you say that there'd be any major challenges with it?
Yeah, well, it's like everything, as you said, it's like new technology, and therefore everybody has to get trained in it, first of all. And
Mm.
interesting with anybody in the EU Act said in February that if you are using AI in your workplace, you had to train your employees. But you shouldn't need a rule to say that. I've came across companies who spent $1 million, £1 million on technology, and then said, but my staff aren't using it right. I interviewed the staff as part of a consulting role, and they went, yeah, there was no money left over to train us. So the old adage, if you got to spend £1 on technology, spend £1 or $1, whatever your denomination is, on training, still
Yeah.
holds true for me. I think the L&D team are really key here, because what you're describing there is you can use sentiment analysis, in other words, AI to listen into conversations, to judge how people are feeling, obviously be very transparent about it and get everybody's agreement. Otherwise, you create mistrust. I think AI can definitely benefit remote working. I can watch people to make sure they're okay. I can listen in to make sure, that I'm not putting them under stress or pressure, and interact early. You can look at a whole host of behaviors. I can use AI when I'm doing my meetings to record them to give me time back. I can
Yeah.
provide tools that provide answers, all those types of things. But to your point a moment ago, those are point solutions and point suggestions, whereas actually how we work is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And therefore, if we've our L&D professionals understanding, and let's be honest, when hybrid work came in, we didn't really train people how to manage. And then we insisted they come back into the office. And now I'm saying
Yes.
not 1 day in or no days in, it's 3 days. And you and I know that's going to become 4 days for certain firms
Yeah.
soon. I think that's down to the fact we've not learned how to work effectively in a hybrid situation, regardless of AI or anything else. And to your
Yeah.
point, AI isn't going to fix that. This becomes a people plus technology, opportunity. And I'm very bullish about both. I'm very bullish about really good policies, treating people like adults and teaching them how to work in a hybrid situation. And I'm really bullish about, great technology, which definitely today includes AI, to allow them to work smarter, more innovatively, more effectively, and more productively. But both things need to go together. It's not an either or for me.
And I think it's also about how we balance that automation, that AI with the human touch. And it's back again to what you're saying and what I'm saying. It's a people management issue, it's a training issue, and it's a new technology issue. And all of those strategies need to align at a senior level. So do senior leadership even have an understanding of that impact? And it's all great having a hybrid working policy, but are you understanding the effects of technology on that individual, on that environment, how it affects their work? Do they have the correct environment? Are their managers trained? Even thinking about what you've actually just said, we don't want AI to replace any of that human touch. So is there a risk that organizations will start to maybe blur that line a little bit and use the AI to manage the employee rather than the manager?
Well, this is the interesting bit, because you mentioned in one of our previous podcasts agentic labor, which is essentially digital workers. We're starting to see a lot more of that. So Jensen Huang said, look, he wants, 50,000, 100,000 digital workers, not just people. And again, it's not the same thing where we're going to replace everyone with a digital worker. It's how do we get technology that is suitable and appropriate for a process, a workflow, or whatever else to do that, to free up the people to play, dare I say, more of a human role. Nobody in L&D and HR set out to go, yippee, I'm going to do tons of administration. Yes, I'm delighted to be a business partner. Now I can do all of the business's administration. That's not why things are there. And if we put great technology, which is AI and apps and chatbots and digital workers and everything else into place, then we're truly giving help to managers in HR teams and L&D teams, to help their well-being, to improve their productivity, and also to improve their workforce's productivity. Because that's what great technology is, isn't it? It's about improving not just performance, because we sort of expect that, and productivity, innovation, and creativity, and the tech that we will teach people, you and I, will allow them to do that. But it's about how do you actually use all this technology and all those human moments, Claire, to improve engagement in a human workforce. So what are you seeing from an AI perspective of where we're using tech and good HR strategy and skills and L&D methodologies to improve engagement, to personalize learning, to improve coaching, and to do exactly as you described a moment ago, balance automation and AI and technology with that vital human touch?
I think if you can inject the AI into the training, great. If you can make it a more of a personalized journey for that individual, where it's role specific training, where there has been a lot of effort put into the content with the support of AI, because we know the content creation is its speciality. If we can put the effort into that and get real quality, rich training programs for individuals and managers, I think that's the first step and the first bit of injection of AI. And on the L&D side, they should start to feel that value in what they can create. I think then on the HR side, to balance that human element with the technology, look at the data you already have. There is so much human capital information available in organizations. But I do think one of the issues is they don't know what to do with it. And we're so used to HR professionals having to be those data analysts as well, and maybe not picking up on the patterns that technology or AI would see. So why not try and inject that AI into your analytics? And it can go as far, and this is some applications organizations already have access to. It can go as far as to give you the narrative. So you can present that to different audiences. So for example, direct line managers, you can have that information available to them in an immediate format. For more senior leadership, you may want to present that maybe in a paper with the support and analytics. So I think the AI can help both in the creation, but also in the analysis of the organization, because how do you know if you're successful if you can't measure success? And I think if you've already got all that great, valuable data, start to do something with it. Look for the patterns that the human the human eye at least couldn't see, or maybe you're looking at it too frequently to actually see the bigger picture. And I do know that this expansion of technology and artificial intelligence allows us to start to layer a lot of different sources of information together to give us richer analytics. And I think that takes us more into predictive era. So we can actually have HR driven data decision making because we've been able to analyze larger volumes of that. And I think that that will bring value to those teams, at least at senior leadership teams, so they can see even the return on investment. I know you'd mentioned a few of the agentic workers and the replacement or statistics that they're looking at. There's a recent MIT paper that was published around bespoke, I suppose, applications that have been created where these are standalone in organizations to solve a particular problem. And I think only 90% of them actually were successful in delivering a return on investment. So that tells me a couple of things. It tells me I'm not quite sure about the cohort of people or organizations that they've looked at, first of all. But obviously, people are still exploring and experimenting. So they're trying to determine what works for them. Is it the right application? Does it need to be changed? Is there something you need to rewrite within that as well? So I'm not going to sit and say, yeah, you'll get it right first time, and there's one application that's going to solve everything. It won't. I think individuals in HR and L&D know their organizations best. They will be able to pinpoint where's the pain in their role and their process, and how can they actually use AI to inject some energy into that to free them up out of those processes and actually allow them to create that really great content that we're talking about.
And that's not, I know we're mentioning words there like data analytics and insight and predictive, which I call foresight, to allow those groups to make better decisions. That we can teach relatively easily. It's not, again, that you need $1 million budget, because if you've got the data and you can get access to it, which we can, do today, then we can use something as simple as ChatGPT to do descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive analytics relatively easily. And to your point there a second ago as well, Claire, we can actually use that tooling and technology. And we will be teaching that on a course that Claire and I are running in the next couple of weeks and months, to teach people how to create content and create training and learning and development materials that actually talk to the individuals and satisfy their needs. So now we're talking about data analytics and AI and great people and freeing up time and empathy and automation. So now we really are into that phase, Claire, that's been promised for years, where AI supports humans and doesn't replace them. And it was interesting. I seen that same MIT report and I read it and thought, there's nothing new here. This is awful, apart from the hype figure, because nothing like a bit of misery to say why it's not working.
Yeah.
But I come across people every day where it is working, and all of the mistakes they mentioned. So, for example, not having a clue where to begin, get some training. Aligning AI to the wrong thing. Well, align AI to your department or business strategy, not hard. Some metrics that you mentioned to judge success. Absolutely. You just don't do it for the fun of it. But that said, I know multi-million dollar companies or billion-dollar companies who do, and my record, by the way, is 223 proofs of concept that went nowhere. And that was down to just pure giddy excitement, where everybody had to be seen to be doing something. And that meant they didn't actually, sharpen the knife and target it at the right place. So I think you and I can easily teach people, how to actually have successful AI programs, how to combine great people with great empathy, with all of this automation, digital data, and everything else, technology, which is key for HR and L&D professionals and everyone else in the business, with dare I say, Claire, relative ease.
Yeah. I mean, if it excites you to think about this, and even if it doesn't, but you need to get a handle on it, it can be the right application for anyone. And there will not be circumstances in your organization. There are not going to be departments or areas that you cannot apply it to. It's about how you do it. It's about what you're applying it to in that context and what's going to work well. And I think that's probably where some of those MIT failures have come. They tried to replace whole departments maybe with certain creative solutions, and it hasn't went well. But you and I both said it. The basis of the success is in the planning. So if you don't know how to identify the opportunities, if you don't even know what tools are available to you, because I know that's something you're going to talk about on our course as well, and if you cannot marry those all up to your strategy and understand how is that going to impact my business, is it actually even worthwhile in investing in that particular task or creating something in that area? Should I look maybe somewhere else? If you can't do that and successfully plan it, then you are doomed to start. So anyone can learn on this course.
What did someone say? Fail to plan, plan to
You
fail.
have to
And it's so
fail.
true. It doesn't matter technology or
It
not. And the
is,
beautiful
and
thing
it
is,
happens to everything.
it does happen everything. So that 90%, 95% fail, we could apply to lots of things.
Yeah.
But the good news is, look, in addition to the fact that we're running a training course, did we mention that? There's a budget and there's a technology for everyone that makes this more affordable than ever, which means if you are a HR and L&D professional and want to get started, with hybrid work, with better work practices, putting an AI integration strategy or automation or data analytics strategy into play, all that gorgeously is possible today. With the right training and with the right direction, you can be successful. Be other than one of the MIT 90%. Trust me, that's not as difficult as it actually sounds. Claire, until we get to our next podcast and in front of people training, I will see you next time.
Thanks. Bye.